here it is, guys, the official Eclips3D update number 1. I know there was like a thing before, but this is with the official name. So this is the Eclips3D printer, which is spelled a little funky, but just to give it a little jazz. So you know, while you guys are here, I'm just going to officially change printer name from printer name. Let's see, how do I do this with this? Still learning Autodesk Inventor a bit, so a little clunky, but I mean, I'm a little clunky, not the program. So let's change this to Eclips3D. Nice. I think I have this so it should center. No, I don't. Oh, I only have it centering vertically. Anyway, yeah, so there we go. That is good enough for now. A little tough to see, but it's there, I promise. So yeah, Eclips3D is the official name. Congratulations to Alwyn for suggesting the winning name. A very, very close second place by 2 votes for Brian's suggestion, which was Paradigm Shift, which is also pretty cool. Also pretty cool that both of those guys have purchased 3-ups from me, and they were in batches 2 and 1 respectively. So pretty cool going way back, and those guys are coming in first and second place by so close. So yeah, awesome. So what have I done with this printer since the last time? Well, it probably doesn't look too much different, but quite a lot has been done. In fact, it is almost done right now. Believe it or not. The reason it doesn't look done is because most of these mirrored parts, like this piece and this piece, I haven't put in on the other side yet, or even here. This Y slider is only on one side. I didn't do the top parts to the rods. This piece still needs a bit of work, the X slider piece. But it's getting really close to being done, really close to being ready for prototyping. In fact, I might be ordering the parts that I need for prototyping with the next batch of 3-ups that I'm doing, which is also going to be the final batch. So if you're interested in a 3-up, definitely, if you're not on the wait list, let me know soon, because once I take these orders for this final batch and once I close the orders, I will not be adding any orders under any circumstances. I will just be finishing out the rest of the orders that have been made, and once that is done, I will be done with the 3-ups for the time being. I may reopen them at a later point, but that's not what this video is about. So what have I done since the last time? I forget, because I don't remember what I showed you already. These guys are pretty much done. This piece is really complicated if I just show you it. It looks pretty simple from the outside, but it's got all these holes and everything going through, and all these measurements took forever to plan out, because basically you have to bolt this down to the bottom first, and when you bolt it down, it is close, thank you. It is going through this metal plate here, so it's attaching both of these, and then you're bolting through the back to attach it to this extrusion, and then you have to bolt this piece on to hold the rod in place. So it was quite complicated to design and have it all work out and look pretty and be functional. This Y slider again was a difficult piece, as I expected it to be. What I've settled on is a piece very similar to the old one, except these are just going to bolt straight through. There's these little aluminum spacers, which I believe I showed in the last one, which are going in there, and then they're just going to bolt in. So that should give it a nice strong connection. I'm going to be doing some testing with this to make sure that it is rigid enough, but I do believe it will be okay. If it's not, I will be adding a plastic plate over the top, sort of like I have with the 3-up right now. So not a big deal if it's not as rigid as I hoped, because it's an easy fix. For the rods at the top, I had to get a little creative because I wanted to get these rods as close to the edge as possible to reduce any sort of flexing by the carriage and by the rods and all that stuff. So what I'm going to do is I didn't make the pieces yet, but they're basically going to be, they're going to fill in this top section, and then they're going to come down on the side a little and bolt in on this side right here. So one bolt's going to go through the side to hold this side down. It's going to go in this way horizontally, and then the other two are going to go vertically to sort of clamp it down. So this horizontal one should hold it strong on this edge, and these two will clamp it down so that even if your prints don't come out right, if you're printing this yourself, it still should work and sort of auto-correct itself. So those two parts were, I think, the main changes. I totally forget. I did put this piece in because Masumi's store came back up, which you just saw me edit. This is going to be the main cross piece for the Z-axis, which I really don't like because it costs $10. But I don't really see any other way around it at the moment. I was going to do just a single extrusion, not a double, but I was afraid that that might twist a little with this Acme block being attached to it. I wasn't sure how that would work, and I wanted it to be rigid because this is going to be a very high quality printer, I hope. So I do want to make sure that everything is designed with being completely rigid in mind. Now you may be wondering, why am I doing a single Z screw then? Well, it still will be rigid because these right here are metal plates. I believe I showed these in the last one, and these are aluminum extrusions. So it's going to be an aluminum frame from the bushings all the way out. And the MakerBot replicators, they use plastic. They use full plastic piece arms here. They aren't quite as long as this, obviously. They're probably chopped about here. But regardless, they use plastic, and it works decently well for them, even with their heavy metal bed. It does sag a little bit with the heavy metal bed, but my point is, that's plastic. This is aluminum. This is not going to bend. In fact, I designed this with either a 1 degree or a ½ degree acute angle between here and here, so it's not a perfect right angle, because I do expect these bushings to have a tiny bit of play. Of course they have to, so that when they do play and they do rest on the proper sides here and over here, this bed will be almost perfectly flat, or perfectly flat, hopefully. And this should support most beds. It may not support the cubed basalt bed just because that's so incredibly heavy, but it'll support pretty much anything else that I want to throw on it. I also rethought the dampening a bit because somebody pointed out that even if I have a 5mm dampener here, the vibrations will just travel through the bolts and into the metal and through the frame, so that won't work. So what I did is I chopped this down to 3mm, and I didn't put them in yet, but I'm going to make little 3mm thick spacers to go on top here, and they're going to go in between this top plate and the head of the bolt. So the only place that could possibly touch would be the walls of the bolt to the aluminum, and if that is a problem, which I am thinking ahead for that, I will do something where I have some sort of a plastic insert that will go in these holes to space those out so that they do not rub. So that's only going to be if it's necessary. For here, not too much has changed. Somebody did point out that constricting the top of the rod is usually a bad idea, and yes, I do agree, it usually is. However, I'm just putting that in there as a temporary thing just to test it with or without the rod, because obviously I can always take out this bearing, and then there's enough of a hole. Yeah, there is. I can always make it bigger to test with and without a bearing, see how each does, and compare the prints just so that I can make sure I'm getting the best, the highest quality prints out of this printer. Most likely this will be eliminated and this whole little outcrop will be chopped off, but I'm leaving it on there for now. And then for this side, I believe I already showed this. It's just got the two, I might have put these bolts in since then, these two pulley sort of things. These are also 3D printed, but they're a little bit of a better design than the current ones I use. And then this, which is a sort of redirect so that the belts can cross each other, and then it just goes to the other side, which is a mirror. And then also I've got these pulleys on here. Also, I should mention the bearings I'm using they're a slightly smaller diameter than 608ZZs, and they only have a 5mm internal, which is good for bolting them in, and also the smaller outer is good for saving space. So as you can see, this one does stick out a bit, but I will account for that in the X slider piece so that they don't interfere. The current size, I bumped it up to a 400mm extrusions all along the outside, 400 vertically. So yeah, actually the entire frame is 400mm extrusions, and then these guys are different, but they're going to have to be different. I'm not too sure if I'm going to stick with this. I may cut these guys down to 350. Excuse me, sore throat. I may cut these guys on these sides down a little bit to sort of crunch it back so that it's not as far sticking forwards, because right now it's a 10 by 10 inch by 8 inch build area approximately, which is huge. Not necessary, but I wouldn't complain. But I don't think it's necessary to go with the full 10 inches in the Y direction. We can just keep 10 in the X direction and go 8 in the Y, and that would still be plenty big. Plus that might help with the bed not being out as far, because I'm not too sure how that's going to handle it, but I still have to do a lot of testing, keep in mind. I believe that's mostly it for the design. For some pricing stuff, I've looked up some new components. I'm going to be using the only, I would say, not quite super high quality part in this will be the controller board. Only reason being is because they're so expensive for a really good one. I'm trying to keep this printer under 600, and there's no way I could do that with like a really high quality board, because those things cost $100 at least. But what I will be doing is I will be getting a Arduino and a ramps setup, so it's very customizable, and I will be getting the DV885 drivers, I believe that's what they're called, which they offer twice the resolution of your standard stepper drivers that come with ramps, twice the resolution of the printer board stepper drivers. What that means is not only that it's a higher resolution turning, but it also makes the steppers quieter because they're taking smaller steps, which is cool. So again, that will help with the quietness of this printer. It will come with an LCD too, which is going to be cool. That will mount somewhere in the front, of course. Makes sense. Looking into heated beds, still not too sure because those are expensive for a decent one. The full acrylic enclosure, that will probably be the higher model, because I'm planning on doing two models, a base model and a higher model. The higher model is only going to include non-necessities like the acrylic enclosure. It might have the heated bed for the upgraded model, and maybe a printer bot metal extruder or something like that. I'm still not sure. I'm going to be looking into all that stuff, of course. Current target price is $600 for the base and $700 for the upgraded. That's including shipping and all that stuff. So that is the final price you would pay. So not too bad, especially for the high quality that I expect this printer to be. I'm looking to compete with the Ultimaker here. I am going for broke. So we will see just how that goes, but I'm going for Ultimaker like speed, quality, and quietness. So we will see. It definitely won't look as pretty, but that's kind of impossible to do, so whatever. I believe that was all I have to say for today. So a lot of developments going on. The next time you see it, I will probably have all these mirrored parts put in, and I will have the entire printer pretty much put together, because it basically is now, just needs a few tweaks. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If you have any suggestions for the build, any suggestions for items that should be thrown. Oh, one more thing. Hopefully nobody left. Well, people left, whatever. End stops. I thought of where to put the end stops. One of them will be going either here or on the mirrored side. It will be sticking up vertically, and it will be contacting this part of the Y slider. The other one the X one will be going like the old one where it did here. I still have to do stuff with that. And the Z one is going to be a cool one because I really want to try to put it recessed behind this piece. So you would bolt it in from the back. And then how it would be triggered is by a bolt that would stick off of like one of these and would travel up into this block and then trigger the end stop. So the end stop wouldn't be visible at all, which would be cool because this is one of those most visible places. This one would obviously be visible. There's no way to hide that one. I can't go under because these pieces are so small. So it's really got to be there or here, which can't be here. Anyway, so yeah, so the X one's going to be hidden behind the stepper. The Z one's going to hopefully be hidden behind this piece. So the only one you'll see is the Y one. So that'll be cool for keeping things nice and discreet and making it look pretty. So that's pretty much it. So thank you all for watching. If you have any suggestions for my build, for the Kickstarter, for anything like that, Kickstarter details will be announced at a much later point when that becomes more solid. Please do let me know in the comments. Thank you all for watching, and hopefully you sat through this entire thing. If you did, congrats, you get a cookie. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you later.